Curiosity and all the great things they're doing through that in our Sewanee community. So before we begin, let's give ourselves a round of applause because it takes amazing people to support amazing people. So with that, I'll turn it over to our two guests today. So here we go.
All right.
All right. Well, we are the co-directors of Well-Directed Curiosity. And Well-Directed is a program for 2nd through 5th graders at Sewanee Elementary School. Does everybody know where that is? It's just downtown. It's the only school that isn't Sewanee or St. Andrews. And we give them a free after-school program where we utilize you guys and ourselves as university mentors and volunteers to act as guides for the 2nd through 5th graders to go on hikes and just be outside and do things that aren't just sitting in their school and having to stay, and just, not have any fun, essentially. So, yeah.
Well, I'm the Canali, and she's a Bonner. So Canali, well, they're pretty much similar programs, but for those of you who don't know, Canali internships are just basically like service internships, and you lead like a specific program, and Bonner you can speak more to, but it's like something you start as a freshman and do like 10 hours of work each week.
Yeah, so Bonner, you do 8 to 10 hours a week for a scholarship, and it's really cool that is offered because being able to do outreach for your job essentially on campus is really exciting. I've worked with like several different programs over the past 4 years, but WDC has been one that I started doing sophomore year and haven't stopped doing it since, other than going abroad. And so, I don't know, I think I really like WDC as a program, and that's kind of why I applied to be one of the leaders this year and one of the co-directors this year. So,
yeah. Well, I didn't get involved with it because of Bonner, but I was just volunteering, like as a lot of our volunteers do. And then I wanted to be in charge of it, so I applied to the Canali position, and I got it. So Abbey and I are like the first time that we've had two co-directors. There's always been one in the past, so we've had to like work together on that, but it's been good. I couldn't do it by myself.
No.
So
yeah, I can't imagine doing it without Cooper. Also, we work pretty closely with Emmy Chambers, if y'all know her, and she's great, and she helps us with all of scheduling and kind of doing like our secretary stuff. So a lot actually goes into getting the whole program together. And there are a lot of parents that will call you and scream at you and be upset with you, especially when they're like, my child isn't here, and it's scary. So there's a lot of liability, and it is a scary thing to be in charge of, especially when it has to do with kids and like dealing with their parents. So that's something that I've kind of realized has been one of the bigger challenges as the directors.
yeah, I would say that like not something I expected at all, but it was like there was like a week where Abbey and I had like multiple parents calling us and yelling at us, and that was the week about swimming, and where we went swimming, and it was like the most fun Well-Directed I'd ever had, and like was so fun, and we went to like Lake Dimmick and like jumped in, like we were super safe about it, and like told all the parents ahead of time, and like I thought that we were doing everything right, and I was like so happy, and then I start getting calls from parents about like this happened and like I don't know, it's just like really frustrating that like we really thought that we were doing the right thing, but like it wasn't right, and that was like the hardest thing. Like risk management was like a big thing for a while, but it's gotten better.
Yeah, risk management has been hard. Also, I don't know if you guys hike, but if you go out to any of the bluffs, it's just like really a beautiful view, and there's so many different really cool hikes that'll take you out to all these different points, like K Point or like Piney Point, even Morgan Steep, and that was one of the things that parents were, and not even parents, but kind of our boss was saying, please don't take them to bluffs. Like that's like one of the main things that parents are concerned about is letting their children get near bluffs, and obviously, like we as university leaders and as mentors and people who have worked with kids before know how to handle that kind of situation and how to say, like, nobody gets this close to the bluff. If you're going to get close to the bluff, like, you're going to, like, be on your stomach and, like, looking over and, like, I don't know. There's, like, ways to manage that and that we know how. But that being one of those things that parents were like, absolutely not, that's not okay, we can't do that. It's so limiting and it's scary, and you just kind of have to make all of these decisions and kind of shitty decisions sometimes as the directors, especially for the kids that don't get to see a lot of the cool things around here. I don't know, like the views. It's frustrating, but we've definitely worked our way around it and made the best of what we can.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things for me, too, that I've noticed is, like, bridging the gap between, like, the university kids and the non-university kids, because a lot of the time there's, like, that separation. Like, a lot of the university kids, like, have, like, really, like, solid experiences with this sort of thing, and then the non-university kids have, like, literally never, like, we went to the farm one week, and that was, like, so fun and so cool, and, like, a lot of them had, like, never had that experience before, like, never seen a goat, or, like, gotten to play with it, or, like, that sort of thing. That's another thing that we've, like, really tried to implement this year is, like, having more, like, resources, like, going to the farm and, like, having those more, like, kind of, like, educational, and I'd say educational, like, that's probably not the right word, but, like, really, like, hands-on experience. Like, we go to Abbo's Alley a lot, and, like, that's fun and everything, and, like, really valuable, but at the same time, like, we've tried to kind of, like, make more structure.
Right. Part of our goals for the very beginning of the year were to try and gather this list of different people who weren't necessarily WDC volunteers and didn't necessarily take the kids out on the hikes, but were interested in, say, teaching a biology lesson or teaching a geology lesson or something that they were interested in and, you know, taking classes on, and been able to take the kids, like, out to a certain place or, you know, even, like, inside on a rainy day, like, and teach them about something. And that was something that we wanted to implement, and it sort of worked and it sort of didn't work. But I remember I took one of the boys groups out on a geology hunt one time, and it was just like really, it just kind of made me realize a lot about myself and a lot about the program. But I think that's a cool way and a really exciting and interesting way to get the kids involved in that kind of learning, that kind of interaction like Cooper was talking about. But now that we've been just rambling about really nothing, does anybody have any questions about WDC or like what we do, or has anybody worked with WDC before? Okay.
Woo.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that have. Oh, you have questions.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Me.
I thought you were raising the question.
My question was, what are like some of your like favorite activities that you've like taken kids on, or that you have heard about other people doing?
Yeah. Well, I would say the swimming day was like definitely the most fun, which really sucks. And like when we went to the farm, that was really fun. But even like some like we have like just random moments that are really funny and just like really fun. Like I remember like I think it was like the first week of Well Directed this year, we like were playing like get to know you games, and one of the girls, we were playing telephone, and one of the girls was like, my dad has a penis. And I literally was like, did you just say that? And she like didn't know that it was wrong because like she's a second grader. And I was literally like, what? Like, oh my god. So I was like, I'm just gonna say something different. But like just moments like that where you're just like, I don't know, it's like almost validating like the ridiculous things that they say, or like the like stupid, you know, or they're like hanging on you and you're just like, get off, but it's kind of cute. Like,
Oh my god. Yes.
Oh, when you said university kids and non-university kids, what do you mean by that?
Well, like a lot of the kids are like parents of like professors, and so a lot of them are like I guess that's like more different, but like I had kids that were the kids of my janitor in Quintard for 2 years, and like it was really cool because I was like got to get to know her really well and also her kids, and like that was really cool. But a lot of the times like all the girls who like have parents who are like professors are like best friends, and then like the girls who are from like kind of like the poorer areas and like their parents, they don't come from like as good of a home life, like they are like kind of like left out. So it's like really cool, Well Directed, that they like have more of a chance to like interact in like a different setting and like a group setting where they're like really getting to bond. Like, I think that's
And
really
I think
cool.
it's really important that we have university mentors, like that students from the university are the ones that are coming in and acting like as a big brother or a big sister to a lot of these students. And I don't know, regardless of the background you come from, sometimes like the kids are going to need a I don't want to say better, but like more
Consistent
and a more like strong support system, and it's cool to see that kind of develop as the year progresses or as the semester progresses. And all of our mentors are also held to the accountability of everybody reads through, and normally we have a big meeting at the beginning of the year to talk about what it's like to safeguard children. And so you look at all of the different symptoms and like the signs of abuse or neglect or just like different issues that you can kind of see outwardly in the child's behavior. And our leaders are taken through kind of a process of learning about that, so that if indeed they do have a child that is showing signs of neglect or abuse, then they can report that to us, or they can report that to our boss, and we can kind of help alleviate things that might need to be alleviated and that might not be seen in the school system. If that makes sense. Yes.
What sort of stuff would you do on a day like this?
So I am always a huge fan of going outside every time we can. But on a day like this, and when the kids really don't want to be out there, I've taken them into Gaylor. We've taken them into Gaylor and gone to movies.
We did that
Literally just like
Yeah. Y'all just got back? Sweet. Yeah. Well, let them watch Planet Earth. They have such a good time. They love that shit. And, taking them to, Fowler to play on the wall, which sometimes people get upset about, but it's really fun for the kids. On a couple
pumpkins inside once.
on a couple of occasions we've just made art projects. Like last year we made a big sign that like said the Angel Hut, but really it said the Angel Nut. And we put it up in front of a fort that we'd been building all semester. So just different things that you can kind of incorporate into like other and like watching Planet Earth, like learning about the outdoors, and like I don't know. I think it's cool that like those kinds of things are being implemented.
Logistically, how does it work? Like, how many leaders to a group of kids, and how are they chosen, and who plans what? I'm curious about that.
So at the very beginning of the year, we kind of have a big meeting about WDC. We sent out a big email, and a lot of y'all participated in that program and kind of saw what it was like. But we had this big meeting, and we kind of take all the different people that are interested and meet with them. And so we have different interviews, and if you've worked with WDC before, a lot of time you just kind of recycle and put back into the system if you've already worked with WDC before. And you go through this whole process of learning how to, like I was just talking about, learning about abuse and neglect. You get VAN certified, and which is really cool that you get both of those things, and then, I don't know, I like that. And then we kind of choose from there. And so it works that you have boys in a group and you have girls in a group. That's just how it's always been, and that's how the parents are comfortable with it, which is something that we've talked about in the past, and not necessarily something that we're like, oh, that's how we're always going to keep it, but that's how it is right now. Mm-hmm. And you have about 4 or 5 leaders, and sometimes less. Sometimes it's like 3 leaders per group, and it's like, for example, like Richardson and Skip and whoever else is in y'all's group, I can't remember.
It's Pierce and TJ now.
Yeah, okay, cool. So they've got 4 guys in their group, and they lead 4th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So they leave 4th grade boys out on Tuesday afternoons, and Julia and her group go out with the 3rd grade girls on these kinds of afternoons. So I don't know. It's probably a group of like 10 girls, 10 boys, and 4 or 5 leaders. So you got 2 kids per leader, which is not a bad ratio.
So I'm really bad with kids, and do you have any tips on how to best, I guess, like, if somebody's being, like, really cranky, or they're just being, like, stubborn, or, like, maybe bullying somebody, like, how do I, like, get to them without, like, them making me cry?
Well, I would say, like, in milder cases, like, really just giving them, like, positive attention and not negative attention is a big thing, like, when they do something good. I think we've had groups in the past, like, if they have a problem child, they'll have, like, a candy bar, and they, like, give the candy bar to, like, a good kid, and then, like, they give that to like a different kid each week, and so it kind of like improves behavior. But like, I mean, I've pulled kids aside before and just been like, hey, what's up? Like, are you okay? Like, come on, let's get into it. But I've also had like we have a pretty rough kid right now where I've like had to like speak with her parents and like come up with strategies, like how can I best come across to her, like how do I get her to like participate in things and not like start bawling her eyes out, like that sort of thing. Like, I mean, it's definitely hard, but I think that like managing it on like a really small level is like the best way to deal with it.
And especially when you have more than one group leader, you have 4 people to spread it among, and like that stress kind of, you know, I've had it in groups where one person like works on the kid for a little while, is like trying to help them out, trying to like get them excited or interested in whatever activity we're doing, and then once they need to tap out, they need to tap out, and you have to switch leaders, and like that other person goes back to the big group, and you know, somebody else. And there's a lot of like liability and like stuff that you have to make sure that you're not doing, so you have to make sure you're like, you know, in plain sight and like talking to a kid and stuff. And I don't know, it's like, it's a stressful situation, definitely, but it gets worked out, and especially with a team of people, everybody kind of brings something different to the table. It's nice.
Also, kids are like really, I mean, I have the second graders, so they're like really little, but like kids are really fickle, and like if you draw their attention to something else after like 5 seconds, they like literally forgot that they were mad or like sad or something after like really quickly. Yes, Noni?
Well, it wasn't a question, it was a comment, because I'm in WDC too. It's something that I learned from like kids being really grumpy, just like this year, is that you don't like, a lot of times they just want a lot of attention, and that like they're not actually upset with something that's going on, but they just like want somebody to baby them, and that like a lot of times it just works like phenomenally well if you just ignore them for like 5 minutes, and then you're like, okay, I want to play again. And it, I don't know, it's just like surprising me how well that works. Just like let somebody pop by themselves for a little bit and they come back.
Have you all ever considered extending well-directed curiosity to other local elementary schools, or is that something that would be not compatible with the way the program works?
So, yes, that has been thought about before. The way the program works, however, is that we are allowed to take the kids on hikes on the domain. And leaving the domain is totally out of bounds, and like that brings in a whole new set of liabilities. So that's one thing, is we can't venture, you know, down into you know, towards the Franklin County school system where, you know, maybe Fiery Gizzard or something. We're not allowed to do that with the kids because, number one, we only have 2 hours with them. And number 2, it's that liability of taking them off the mountain in a van is really difficult to deal with. Another thing is kids that would like to participate that don't necessarily go to SES already have an issue of trying to get up onto the mountain, onto the domain in the first place, and trying to get here is really difficult. So those are 2 main things that pop up into my head when I think about that. It's definitely something that's been thought of before, and I think other programs, like I used to work with Colmont Elementary when I was a freshman and a sophomore, and we were doing kind of similar things and trying to get them outside, but the way that Swanee works is so convenient that at Swanee Elementary, you're already at like the backside of the elementary school has already like a trail system. Like you already have all of these different outlets you can take them to. You already have Brakefield. You already have, you know, the farm. There's so much already on the domain that it just works well with that group of kids and with that school system. So.
You talked about this briefly, and this might be like a completely like difficult and like kind of controversial question to answer, but like, how do you feel about the gender separation in the program?
Well, I personally like it because I'm all for gender segregation. Like, I personally like being around all girls, and I think that it's like good for them to like, I don't know, kind of have like that group where they feel like safe and comfortable, but at the same time, like, you know, like gender's a social construct. Like, I think that like in some ways that kind of like enhances that, and like that having girls and boys like play together like could be very helpful in a lot of cases, and like could be really fun. But at the same time, like it's kind of like having that safe space with like female leaders and female kids is like really cool. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, just a comment to add on to that is, it seems with sweeping majority that most of the time the kids actually don't want to intermingle. Like the boys really want to stay far away from them.
Especially the younger they are. Killen?
Yeah, my comment was similar. Like, well, I have 5th graders right now, and it's like even if we're walking back with the boys, like somehow our groups meet up, it gets very distracting, and like some comments are like, "Oh God, why are they saying that? Just like they're 2 adults."
Or they start
I
talking
kinda
about
feel like that's because
boyfriends.
they're
Yeah.
separated from like the second we pick them up. You know, I feel like that's why it's like a big.
That's
deal.
how it's always been, exactly, and that's how I agree with you. Like the way that WDC has always worked is that it is gender separated, and I think if we did take a year to implement maybe an integration of the genders as they were older, I think I'll come back to that. But I think that integrating at a younger age might be more difficult because I don't know, the kids are already really difficult to deal with at that age. That dealing with both genders might be, I don't know, for some reason that seems stressful to me. But integrating them at an older age where it might become something that's like exciting, you get to like have like a co-ed group. A lot of the reason, and probably the majority of the reason, is there might be a lot of parent backlash if we
like male leaders and like
yeah,
different gender leaders.
right. So if we had different gender leaders, that might be, you know, parents might not like that, but also parents seem to like the way that it is now, and I think changing any sort of change we make, parents always have something to say about it. So that does make it difficult. But I agree with you. I think it'd be really interesting to have.
I also think, the boys are like particularly rowdy and kind of violent sometimes, and like the girls like to like have like talking time and like that sort of thing, and so like there is some value in like having them like separated and like letting them do what they want to do, because like normally the girls are like sitting around talking and like enjoying each other, and then the boys are like over there like kicking each other and like you know just like doing that.
Coming off of that, me and my group, my 4th grade girls and Tomas Arcienega's group, the 3rd grade boys, I think. 3rd grade boys and 4th grade girls went out the other like 2 weeks ago, and I've never had a more fun WDC. It was a lot of fun. We played like capture the flag and like did boys versus girls, and you know there were some boys that wanted to sit out, and there were some girls that wanted to sit out, and it was just like those different types of personalities were kind of like obvious, like when it came to, I mean, it didn't really matter the gender, but like obviously some kids wanted to sit out, and that was okay because we had enough leaders to like for a leader to sit out, and then also for leaders to play, and so I think it could work. But I agree with you. There are definitely some times when the separation is obvious.
This isn't like a super serious question, but what's the most like ridiculous thing the kids complained about to their parent? That, like,
I mean, I
someone's
think
told
that
you?
it was Mary Ming and her gummies. I think it was like one of the first weeks last year that like Julia and Caitlin were in my group, and like we like got snacks, and you know we provide them with snacks, and like we had what I thought was a fun day, and then we dropped Mary Ming off with her mom, and her mom's like, "Oh, Mary Ming, like." How, by the way, like Mary Ming is like the most awkward child on the planet, and she was like, oh.